Welcome to Global Nexus. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. On a crisp autumn morning, the Supreme Court delivered a decision that instantly reignited America's gun debate. The ruling, split 6-3 along ideological lines, struck down a Hawaii law and fundamentally shifted the balance between the right to carry firearms in public and the authority of private property owners. Gun rights advocates celebrated a landmark victory, while gun control supporters warned it would make public spaces less safe. The court's decision forces every American to confront a difficult question: should the right to carry a firearm extend almost everywhere, or should communities and property owners have broad authority to create gun-free zones? The legal battle that would capture national attention began right here in Hawaii, a state often recognized for its breathtaking landscapes and vibrant culture, but also for its notably strict approach to gun control. For years, Hawaii has stood apart from much of the country, with some of the toughest firearm regulations in the United States, aiming to balance public safety with constitutional rights. In this environment, gun ownership is tightly regulated, with residents required to undergo background checks, register their firearms, and comply with rigorous storage laws. The state's commitment to safety is evident in every step of the process, from permitting to enforcement. In 2023, Hawaii lawmakers took a bold new step by passing a law that fundamentally changed how and where firearms could be carried. The law required gun owners to obtain explicit written permission from each individual business before bringing a firearm onto any private property that is open to the public, such as stores, restaurants, or offices. This marked a dramatic reversal from the previous rule, which had allowed gun owners to carry their weapons into most businesses unless a "No Guns Allowed" sign was clearly posted at the entrance. Now, the default was no guns, unless a business owner said otherwise. The new law quickly sparked outrage among gun rights advocates, who argued that it made the act of carrying a firearm in public spaces nearly impossible. They claimed the requirement to seek permission from every business created an unreasonable barrier, effectively undermining the right to bear arms for self-defense. On the other side, Hawaii officials and supporters of the law defended it as a necessary and reasonable measure to protect both property rights and public safety. They argued that business owners should have the final say over whether firearms are allowed on their premises, and that the law struck a fair balance between individual rights and community well-being. The legal battle escalated to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, where judges ultimately upheld the law. The court reasoned that the measure did not infringe on the core right to bear arms, but instead protected the rights of property owners to control what happens on their land. Dissatisfied with this outcome, gun rights advocates took their fight to the highest court in the land. They appealed to the Supreme Court, raising a fundamental question: does the constitutional right to bear arms extend to privately owned spaces that are open to the public, or can states and property owners set their own limits? With the nation watching closely, the stage was set for a decisive constitutional showdown, one that could reshape the balance between gun rights, property rights, and public safety across America. On November 17, 2025, the Supreme Court struck down Hawaii's law in a 6-3 decision. Justice Clarence Thomas, writing for the majority, argued that requiring permission from every property owner would gut the right to carry in public. The majority said history supports a presumption that carrying arms is allowed unless a property owner objects. In dissent, Justice Sotomayor warned the ruling trampled property rights and endangered public safety, arguing the Second Amendment was never meant to override a business owner's wishes. The deep divide on the court reflects a fundamental disagreement over how the Constitution should be interpreted in modern America. For gun owners, this ruling marks a significant change in how they navigate public spaces. Now, unless a business has a clearly posted sign stating that firearms are not allowed, gun owners are permitted to carry their firearms inside. This means that the default has shifted. Carrying is allowed unless explicitly prohibited, rather than the other way around. For many, this brings a sense of expanded freedom and the ability to protect themselves in more places than before. However, it also introduces new responsibilities, as gun owners must be constantly aware of the signage at each business they enter, making sure they are in compliance with the rules of each property. The burden now falls squarely on property owners and business operators. If they wish to keep firearms out of their establishments, they must take proactive steps to post "No Guns" signs in clear, visible locations. This requirement means that property owners can no longer assume their premises are gun-free by default. Instead, they must actively communicate their preferences to every customer and visitor. As a result, communities are likely to see a patchwork of policies emerge. One store may welcome gun owners while the shop next door may prohibit firearms entirely. This creates a landscape where both gun owners and business owners must stay vigilant, constantly checking for signs and updating policies as needed. The rules can change from one door to the next, making consistency a challenge. Critics of the ruling argue that it diminishes the rights of property owners, forcing them to take on the added responsibility of policing their own premises. They worry that this could lead to confusion, increased tension, and even potential confrontations between customers and staff. Some business owners feel that their ability to control what happens on their property has been undermined, as they must now be more vigilant and assertive in enforcing their policies. On the other hand, supporters of the decision see it as a strong affirmation of the right to self-defense. They argue that the ability to carry a firearm for personal protection should not end at the threshold of a private business, and that responsible gun owners should be trusted to follow posted rules. For them, this ruling is a victory for individual liberty and the Second Amendment. The new reality will undoubtedly change daily life in public spaces. Shoppers, diners, and business owners alike will need to adjust to a world where the rules about firearms can shift from one establishment to the next. This may lead to more conversations about safety, personal rights, and the responsibilities that come with both owning a firearm and running a business. Over time, communities will develop their own norms and expectations. But for now, everyone must adapt to a more complex and dynamic environment. Ultimately, the debate over liberty and safety is no longer confined to courtrooms or legislative halls. It now plays out in every shopping center, restaurant, and neighborhood gathering. As people on both sides of the issue voice their concerns and hopes, the conversation about gun rights and property rights will continue to shape the fabric of daily life. This decision is the third major Supreme Court ruling in 2 decades to expand gun rights. In 2008, District of Columbia versus Heller recognized an individual's right to possess firearms at home. In 2022, New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin extended that right to carrying handguns in public. The Hawaii case clarifies that the right to carry applies to most privately owned public spaces, unless the owner opts out. Together, these cases mark a dramatic shift toward a broader, more individualistic interpretation of the Second Amendment. The ruling immediately affects states like California, New York, and New Jersey, which had similar laws requiring permission to carry guns on private property. Those laws are now constitutionally vulnerable, forcing legislatures to rewrite them and sparking new political battles. For gun owners, the presumption flips. They can carry unless told otherwise. The decision will be welcomed by some, but may cause anxiety in communities used to stricter gun-free policies. The ripple effect is national. Other states may hesitate to pass new gun restrictions, fearing they'll be struck down. The Supreme Court's message is clear. Broad gun control measures face an uphill battle. The legal and political landscape for gun regulation has fundamentally changed. The Supreme Court's recent ruling may have settled one legal question, but in reality, it has opened the door to a host of new uncertainties and challenges. While the decision provides some clarity on the constitutional right to carry firearms, it leaves many aspects of gun regulation up in the air, setting the stage for a new era of legal and political battles across the country. In the coming months and years, we can expect a surge of lawsuits targeting a wide range of existing gun regulations. Legal challenges are likely to focus on restrictions in so-called sensitive places, such as parks, bars, schools, and public transportation. Each case will test the boundaries of the court's decision, forcing lower courts to interpret what is permissible under the new legal landscape. State legislatures now face a daunting task. Those committed to gun control must draft new laws with extraordinary care, ensuring they can withstand inevitable court scrutiny. Meanwhile, states that favor gun rights may seize this moment to roll back existing restrictions even further, emboldened by the Supreme Court's stance. The legislative process will become a battleground with intense debates and close attention to legal language. As a result, the divide between red and blue states is likely to grow even deeper. In states like California and New York, where strict gun laws have long been the norm, the sight of firearms in public spaces may become more common, challenging local norms and sparking new debates about safety and freedom. Meanwhile, other states may move in the opposite direction, further loosening regulations and expanding where guns can be carried. For businesses and consumers, these changes will bring new choices and new dilemmas. Storefronts may increasingly display signs declaring their gun policies, turning everyday places into visible symbols of America's ongoing gun debate. Business owners will have to weigh the preferences of their customers, the safety of their employees, and the shifting legal landscape as they decide how to respond. This Supreme Court ruling is not the final word, but rather a pivotal turning point in the nation's long and complicated struggle to balance individual rights with the need for public safety. The debate over the Second Amendment and what it means for modern America is far from over. Instead, it is entering a new and unpredictable phase, with high stakes for communities across the country. As Americans grapple with these changes, one thing is clear: the next chapter in the nation's complex and often contentious relationship with guns is just beginning. The choices made now, by lawmakers, judges, businesses, and citizens, will shape the future of gun regulation in America for years to come.